Welcome back to the deep dive. Today we are on a mission, a really critical one. We're taking the foundational operating system of the United States, the Constitution, and we're going to crack it open.
We really are. And there's some surprising things in there. Did you know, for example, that the president is technically just charged with executing laws? I mean, they're essentially the chief administrator, just with term limits.
Exactly. Or, and this is my favorite, that the Bill of Rights has what you could call an iceberg rule.
The iceberg rule, yes. Most people, they focus on the 10 rights they can see, the ones above the water.
Sure.
But the Ninth Amendment, that protects all the essential freedoms that are submerged, the ones that are unwritten. It's what stops the government from claiming power over everything just because it wasn't specifically mentioned.
And for this deep dive, we've been looking at this amazing resource. It's called The Constitution of the United States, 2025 edition, explained and annotated by Mr. Biswas.
It's just so valuable. I mean, the original text is written in this dense 200-year-old English. It can feel, well, impenetrable.
It really can. It makes people feel like the Constitution is for lawyers or specialists when it should be the most accessible document in the country.
And that's the genius of what Mr. Biswas did, his structure.
Yeah.
He gives you a quick for kids analogy to get the basic idea, and then right after, the deep dive explanation.
So it makes the whole thing 100% accessible, whether you're, a high school student or just trying to figure out what's going on in the news.
Mm-hmm.
So that's our goal today. We're going to unpack this and give you a kind of GPS for the legal framework of the country. Let's jump in.
Let's do it.
Okay, so let's start with the foundational blueprint, the preamble, the grand opening. The simple analogy is that we the people, well, we're like friends writing Clubhouse rules to make sure the team stays together.
That simple analogy is actually really powerful because it establishes that authority comes from the citizens, not from a king.
Popular sovereignty.
Exactly. For an adult, though, you can think of the preamble as the title page on an architectural blueprint. It says who built the house and why. But, and this is crucial, it doesn't have any actual legal power itself. It's a statement of purpose.
And what a purpose. It's all right there. Establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, and promote the general welfare.
And that phrase, promote the general welfare, that is the root of a huge eternal debate, especially today.
How so?
Well, the preamble states it as a goal, but Article 1 gives Congress the power to tax and spend for it. So the question becomes, is that a broad power? Can Congress fund massive federal programs for healthcare or education, or is it narrow? And the spending has to be tied only to the other powers explicitly listed. It's a constant tension.
That context is so important. Okay, so on to the structure itself. Article 1, the legislative branch, or as the book calls it, the law factor.
Yeah, Congress. And it's set up as a two-team system.
Bicameralism.
Mm-hmm. You got the House of Representatives, the big team. They're elected every 2 years, so they're designed to be closer to the people, responding quickly.
And then the Senate, the select team.
Right. They have 6-year terms, so they're meant to provide stability, to be the cooling saucer for any hasty legislation from the House.
And speaking of flexibility, let's talk about the necessary and proper phrase, the elastic clause. Why is that so important for how we're governed today?
I mean, that little phrase is what allows the entire Constitution to breathe. The founders knew they couldn't possibly predict the future.
Right, they couldn't imagine airplanes or the internet.
Exactly. So, by giving Congress the power to make any law necessary and proper to do its job, they gave it the ability to adapt. That's why we have laws about air traffic and data privacy today.
And we should note a quick historical fix. Senators weren't always elected by the public, were they?
No, not at all. Until the 17th Amendment in 1913, they were chosen by state legislatures. It was another way of emphasizing stability over direct democracy in that chamber.
Okay, let's move to Article 2, the executive branch. The president. We called them the school captain earlier.
Yeah, and that analogy works to a point, but the powers here are, well, they're immense.
They really are. The job is to execute the laws, but then you have the role of commander-in-chief. That's massive. And the power to grant pardons, that's almost a kingly power.
It is. So the analogy helps with the job description, but it misses the gravity. The founders put in strict eligibility rules, natural-born citizen, 35 years old, and then Amendment 22 added the 2-term limit.
But they also built in checks.
Absolutely. The president can't just do anything. Making high-level appointments, signing treaties, all of that requires the advice and consent of the Senate. That's the critical institutional check on that power.
And that brings us to the third branch, Article 3, the judicial branch. The referees.
The ones who interpret the rulebook.
Yeah.
And the key concept here is judicial independence.
Right. They serve during good behavior.
Which basically means it's a job for life unless they do something wrong. Their salary can't be lowered either. And this isn't about giving them job security for the sake of it.
No, it's a structural defense.
Exactly. It ensures they can make rulings based on the law and the Constitution, even really unpopular ones, without worrying about getting fired by politicians.
You know, there's one fascinating detail in Article 3. Treason is the only crime that is actually defined in the Constitution. Why just that one?
Because treason was a classic tool for monarchs to crush political enemies. By defining it very, very strictly, levying war or helping enemies, and requiring 2 witnesses or a confession.
They made it incredibly hard for the government to abuse that charge.
Precisely. It was a preemptive strike against tyranny.
That's amazing context. So now we have these 3 branches. How do they work with 50 different states?
That's where the structural glue comes in. We're talking Articles 4, 6, and 7. Let's start with Article 4, which is basically the respect each other rule.
This is the full faith and credit clause, right?
It is. It means states have to respect the public acts and records of other states. You know, if you get married in one state, you're married everywhere.
And it also has the no hiding rule, extradition.
If you're a fugitive, the state has to send you back. That's what keeps us acting like one single nation.
Okay, so that leads right into the hierarchy of rules in Article 6. This is the big one. The Constitution is the supreme law of the land.
The king of all rules. If a state law and a federal law disagree, the Constitution and federal laws made under it will always win.
It's what stops us from becoming 50 little competing countries.
It is. And Article 6 also has that groundbreaking rule: no religious test for public office, just radical for its time.
So if these are the supreme rules, how do you change them? That's Article 5, and it is not easy.
Oh, it's deliberately hard. Like trying to change the rules of a game while you are playing it.
Yeah.
It requires a huge agreement.
You need 2/3 of Congress to propose the change.
And then 3/4 of the states have to ratify it, to approve it. That high bar makes sure we only change the foundation when there's almost universal agreement.
And let's not forget, Article 7, it says the Constitution only went into effect once 9 states approved it. A really cool historical detail.
Yeah.
So we have the structure. Now let's get to the most personal part. The amendments that protect individual rights. The Bill of Rights. The government's stop sign.
And we start with Amendment first, the big 5 freedoms: religion, speech, press, assembly, and petition. For religion, it's 2-sided. The Establishment Clause means the government can't create an official religion.
And the Free Exercise Clause means they can't stop you from practicing yours.
Right. And free speech and a free press.
Yeah.
They are just absolutely essential for holding the government accountable.
Okay, so next up is what you might call the due process backbone. Amendments the 4th, V, 6th, and 8th. They set out the fair rules for when you're in trouble.
It starts with Amendment 4th, privacy, protection against unreasonable searches and seizures. The police need a warrant, and that warrant has to be supported by probable cause.
Which is more than just a hunch. It has to be a really good reason.
A really good reason. And if they violate that, courts develop the exclusionary rule. Any evidence they get from an illegal search generally can't be used against you. It gives the Fourth Amendment its teeth.
Then Amendment V guarantees fundamental fairness. It has the double jeopardy rule.
Can't be tried twice for the same crime if you're found not guilty.
And famously, the right to remain silent, pleading the 5th.
It also guarantees due process of law, that the government has to follow fair procedures before it can take away your life, liberty, or property.
Amendment 6 picks up from there, ensuring a fair trial, a speedy and public trial, and the right to a lawyer.
Assistance of counsel, yes, which the Supreme Court later made mandatory even if you can't afford one.
And finally, Amendment 8 stops government overreach and punishment. It prohibits cruel and unusual punishments.
Right. And excessive bail or fines. The punishment has to fit the crime.
So let's circle back to that iceberg of rights idea. Amendment 9X. Why did they feel the need to protect rights they didn't even list?
Well, the fear was that if you make a list of 10 rights, some future government might say, okay, that's it. That's the whole list.
And any right not on the list, like privacy or travel, doesn't exist.
Exactly. So the Ninth Amendment says, just because we listed some rights, it doesn't mean you can deny all the other ones that people obviously have. It protects all those natural rights under the surface.
It's the ultimate safety net. And the final safety rule is Amendment X, the leftovers rule.
This is the absolute cornerstone of federalism. It says Any power the Constitution doesn't give to the federal government.
Is reserved for the states or the people.
That's it. It's why states handle things like driver's licenses and local schools. Those powers were never handed over to Washington, D.C.
But the story doesn't end there, does it? After the Civil War, we get what's called the Second Founding, which is all about the 14th Amendment.
The 14th is arguably the most significant addition since the Bill of Rights. It totally redefined citizenship. First, it established birthright citizenship.
And it has two incredibly powerful clauses. The first is the Equal Protection Clause,
mandating that states have to treat everyone equally under the law.
and the second is another due process clause. Why is that one so important?
Because that's the clause that has been interpreted to apply the Bill of Rights to the states. Before the 14th Amendment, the Bill of Rights really only limited the federal government. This made those protections universal.
Then in the 20th century, the rules got modernized even more. The 16th Amendment in 1913.
The money rule. It gave Congress the power to collect taxes on income. It's the reason we have the modern federal government we have today, the club dues, so to speak.
And then a huge expansion of who gets to have a voice.
A massive expansion. The 19th Amendment gave women the right to vote. The 24th banned poll taxes, so you couldn't be blocked from voting just because you're poor.
And the 26th lowered the voting age to 18. That was driven by the Vietnam War, right? If you're old enough to be drafted.
You should be old enough to vote for the people sending you. That was the argument.
We even saw a constitutional do-over. The 21st Amendment is the only one ever passed to repeal another one.
Right, it repealed the 18th, which was prohibition.
And a final amazing one for patience, the 27th Amendment.
Oh, the longest wait. It took over 200 years to get ratified.
Yeah.
It just says that if Congress votes itself a pay raise, it can't take effect until after the next election. A little bit of accountability.
So we've covered the entire foundational document, from the branches to the states to our rights. Understanding this stuff really is like having a GPS for how the country is supposed to work.
It is, and it shows you that this isn't some dusty old text. It's a living framework that's been tweaked and reinterpreted for nearly 250 years. If you're a student, a parent, or just a voter, this knowledge is just essential.
And we didn't even get to the fact that Mr. Biswas's book includes the Grand Constitution Quiz, 200 questions to really test your knowledge.
A fun way to learn. But maybe let's end with a final thought that goes back to the very beginning, to the preamble.
Okay.
It promises to secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity for future generations.
So here's the question then. When we're deciding on a new law today, one that's meant to promote our collective security or our general welfare, how much individual liberty should we be willing to sacrifice, if any, to make sure those blessings are actually secured for the generations that come after us?
Something worth mulling over until our next deep dive.
We'll catch you next time.